you guys. So today I have an article that was sent in to me into the Discord. If you haven't joined the Discord yet, I highly recommend it. It'll be linked down in the description down below. We have over 10,000 people. There are tons of people that post their transformations, post their pets, post their food. They ask questions. Literally any question that you have about weight loss, even if it's not about weight loss. Like, there are tons of different ways that you can get help in the Discord. I highly recommend it. Over 10,000 people in there. It's very awesome. But this article was sent into the Discord multiple times by many of you guys, which I appreciate. I always love when you look out for me. So this is from CNN, and it says, "Fat but fit is a myth when it comes to heart health, new study shows." And this was uploaded January 21st of this year. So that is a humongous ad that plays right there. Holy crap. Okay. So it starts off by saying this: CNN, the negative effects of excess body fat on heart health can't be canceled out by maintaining an active lifestyle, according to new research. Previous studies had suggested that being physically fit could mitigate the negative effects of being overweight on heart health. But this is not the case, according to a new study in the European Journal of Preventive Cardiology, a journal of the European Study of Cardiology, ESC, published Thursday. Quote, "One cannot be fat but healthy. This is one of the first nationwide analyses to show that being regularly active is not likely to eliminate the detrimental health effects of excess body fat," said study author Alejandro Lucia, a professor of exercise physiology at the European University of Madrid. I've been to Madrid before. It's beautiful. Quote, "Our findings refute the notion that a physically active lifestyle can completely negate the deleterious effects," that's a good word, did I read that right, "of overweight and obesity. Previous research provided some evidence that people who were fat but fit could have similar cardiovascular health to those who were thin but unfit. But Lucia said this has unintended consequences. Quote, "This has led to controversial proposals for health policies to prioritize physical activity and fitness above weight loss," he says. "Our study sought to clarify the links between activity, body weight, and heart health." Okay? So apparently this study, it'll kind of go over to explain how it did it, but it looked at like a bunch of different, like if you were overweight but you were active, if you were obese but you were active, if you were thin but you were inactive, like all of those. It looked at a bunch of all of those things. Okay, so it says right here, researchers used data from 527,662 working adults from Spain insured by an occupational risk prevention company with an average age of 42. They were put into groups according to activity level and groups by body weight. 42% of participants were normal weight. That's how we know it was not the USA. With a body mass index of 20 to 24.9. 41 were overweight, BMI 25 to 29, and 18 were obese, BMI 30 or above. Then researchers looked at their cardiovascular health by categorizing them for diabetes, high cholesterol, and high blood pressure, all of which are major risk factors for stroke and heart attack. After investigating the associations between BMI, activity level, and risk factors, researchers concluded that any level of activity meant it was less likely that an individual would have any of the three risk factors compared with no exercise. So that's good. So exercise still does help, right? So it's not completely useless. That's good. With the risk of high blood pressure and diabetes decreasing with increased activity levels. So basically, the more you move, the less chance you're going to be diabetic or have high blood pressure, according to this article. Okay, it's very important. According to this article and according to this study, this is not set in stone. Like, this is the truth now, and you must believe it. This is one study. Okay, there are lots of studies that come out all the time. It's very important. Okay, quote, "This tells us that everyone, irrespective of their body weight, should be physically active to safeguard their health." I mean, that seems like it's kind of like obvious, but I agree. However, the study showed greater cardiovascular risk from overweight and obese participants compared with those of a normal weight, regardless of how much exercise they did. Participants who were obese and active were twice as likely to have high cholesterol, 4 times as likely to have diabetes, and 5 times as likely to have high blood pressure as those that were a normal weight but inactive. So, obese and active were twice as likely, 4 times, 5 times as likely as someone that is a normal weight but inactive. So what that showed them apparently in this study is that regardless of how fit or how active you might be while being obese or being overweight, you still have more risk factors than someone that isn't. Okay? So that's what that's saying right there. Okay. Exercise does not seem to compensate for the negative effects of excess weight, Lucia says. This finding was also observed overall in both men and women when they were analyzed separately. Lucia underlined that it is equally important to fight obesity and inactivity. I like that. Weight loss should remain a primary target for health policies together with promoting active lifestyles, he said. So, this is actually I know that there's going to be people that are upset about this because a lot of people are I don't want to say under the assumption, but they believe that trying to tell people to lose weight is actively harmful because it doesn't actually work. Now, am I going to sit here and say like just telling someone to lose weight works? No, it doesn't. At least I don't think it does. I think that there's a lot more, and I think that if you help someone be more active and live a healthier lifestyle, if they are like overweight or obese or morbidly obese, a lot of times weight will drop just because they are living a healthier lifestyle. But what this article and what this study is saying, I'm not saying it's definitive, but what this is saying is that regardless of if they are being active, they still have a lot bigger risk factors for all of those things as someone that might be a lower weight but have zero, but is not active at all. So that's what this article is saying. Okay. Weight loss should remain. Oh yeah, that's what we already said. We don't know what came first. Now, this is going to go into, which I like that they do, they go into what some of maybe the problems with this study might be. Because again, studies are studies, they're not definitive, so this is kind of what this is going to go on about. Questions remain, however, around the circumstances of those involved in the study. This is a cross-sectional study. All we can talk about is associations. We cannot talk about causality. Very important. Michael Pensina, Vice Dean for Data Science and Information Technology at Duke University School of Medicine, told CNN. Because so this is someone that wasn't part of the study, okay? So that's where all of these quotes are coming from someone that isn't part of the study that is kind of, I don't want to say critiquing, but just saying his thoughts on it, okay? So, quote, because it's a cross-sectional study, we don't know what came first. What this study is not telling us is, did the person who is obese and active, did they become active when they realized they were obese and their risk factors were high, or were they active and despite that they became obese and their risk factors went up? Pensina, who was not involved with the study, added, quote, what we see is that the risk factor burden increases by weight categories. Obese people have the highest burden of associated risk factors. That remains true according to the activity level, he added. The study adds to an extensive body of research on the topic. Scientists at the University of Oxford released results of a large study on January 12th. Physical exercise may be even more important for the prevention of cardiovascular disease than previously known. And the more activity, the better, the report revealed. Interesting. And researchers at the Cleveland Clinic published a study in January 2019 showing a sedentary lifestyle is worse for your health than smoking, diabetes, or heart disease. Wow. So, while the controversy about the precise contribution of weight versus exercise to cardiovascular health will likely continue, to optimize health and minimize the risk of cardiovascular disease, patients should pay attention to both. Maintaining a healthy weight and being physically active, said Dr. Anthony Rosenzweig, chief of the cardiology division at Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston and professor of medicine at Harvard Medical school. So very, very interesting. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there, and there's a lot of stuff that I know many people will be not super happy that has been put out there. I mean, I think a lot of it is kind of common sense in the fact of, like, you know, exercise is good. Not being super overweight is probably going to be better for your health in the long run. But it's interesting, like, when we talk about this stuff, people get very, with weight, I think people it gets very personal, because if you struggle with your weight, it's a very personal struggle. And so it's really, it's tough, but I mean, I don't know. It definitely doesn't seem like this article has any, like, motives as far as, like, trying to be like, oh, let's stick one to the health at every size people. Let's stick one to, you know, body positivity or whatever, fat activism. Or it doesn't seem like it's trying to do that at all. It's just like, hey, this is the data that we have. This is what that data seems to mean to us. But very interesting study. I'm sure more people will be talking about this soon. I would be surprised if no one really kind of picks this up.